And causes of obesity, we could probably spend an entire amount of class time on this. So of course, increased calorie or energy intake. Portion sizes have increased. The Happy Meal at McDonald's used to be the standard meal, and now that's the kids' meal. So portion sizes have gone up. Bagels used to be very small. Now if you go, they're, 2-3 times the size of what they used to be. We've also gradually decreased our daily energy expenditure. Some physical activity. We have a lot more labor-saving devices. I mean, if you think about these things like who mows their own lawn? If you mow your own lawn and you don't have a service come do it, then you may have a riding lawnmower. So that doesn't use very much energy. If you have your own mower, and even if it's a push mower, it might have a self-propel that makes it a little bit easier to mow. That you can still buy the old-fashioned mowers with the blades that need to be sharpened. So that's going to be your highest energy expenditure. You can't. Some neighborhood associations discourage people from taking laundry outside and hanging it up on clotheslines. They don't allow it anymore. We've got the car culture. The suburbs were created so that people could be more active, but actually the opposite is the case. Genetics, yes, certain people are going to have more difficulty managing their weight, so it is probably 30 or 40%. We've also talked about the environment, if you don't live in a walkable area. Some things that probably don't have anything to, cause obesity. Really not a whole lot of changes in people's resting metabolic rate over the years. We're not really looking at the thermic effect of food, although some people feel that every time you eat, you fire up your metabolic rate. Some people say that doesn't really play that big of a role. And of course, there's been no real changes in genetics over the past 30 years. So the human species has not gone through any evolutionary transformations that would cause us to be more obese. Bariatric surgery. This can be helpful for some people. It is controversial. It could be an area where you end up working as an exercise physiologist. So there's a huge need. We have a grad from several years ago that works in an obesity clinic and does the exercise testing and the body composition with DEXA scan with that. So typically a person needs to have a body mass index greater than 40. So they've got to be morbidly obese, 100 pounds overweight, or if their BMI is lower with 35 to 40, and they've got another chronic disease like diabetes or hypertension. So, they can rapidly reduce their body weight by, at least 50%, if not more. People have to go through a fairly complex medical screening for this. So this is not something that people can just automatically decide, hey, I want to do this. It's an invasive surgery, and it's not without complications. So the gastric banding, the lap band is a little less invasive, but really versus the procedure's called the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, and that's the one that's got the higher complication rate. But still, people can re-stretch their stomachs, so they still have to do behavior change in order to lose weight. I've known people who've had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. Some of the complications they've had include vitamin malabsorption, so they have to take a lot of vitamins. They may need to be extremely restricted on the types of foods they can eat. Going out to restaurants are not a lot of fun because they can only eat a very tiny portion of food. So it can work for some people. It can drastically reduce people's diabetes symptoms. So it does work and it's highly effective, but there can be complications. So it's not a decision that people need to go into very lightly. Of course, exercise and obesity, issues with exercise, the extra fat is a layer of insulation. People can be at risk of heat illnesses. They may have had, not surprisingly, negative experiences with exercises, so it can be hard for them to adhere. It may be hard for them to get going. Some people are going to be very motivated and they're going to really respond. Some people are not. Can they get involved with a program? Can they get, more social support? Exercise by itself is very slow for weight loss, aiming for 1 to 2 pounds a week after the first couple weeks. So, they've got to create a calorie deficit between diet and exercise of, 3,500 calories to lose a pound. So that's a lot of exercise. When you're looking at maybe 100 calories per mile that somebody walks, they've got to walk a lot of miles. They got to walk 35 miles to lose a pound. So they have to have diet along with exercise, unless you're really doing a lot of exercise. As we mentioned, otherwise, moderate intensity, longer duration. Resistance training is important. Even though people are obese, they often have a fairly high lean body mass, high bone density, lean muscle mass, and so you want to keep that muscle mass. That's going to help them keep their metabolic rate up, and also focusing on lifestyle activities and increasing physical activity throughout the day.